Hi, everyone. Welcome to Aurelian Coaching Weekly. I'm Nicole Littman, and this week we are talking about managing up. So I have a loose advisory board of mid-career managers, and the last time I talked to them, I asked them for their number one pain point. What is the one problem that you have such a hard time getting ahead of? And I was actually surprised by the answers. So what people kept talking about was managing up. And I thought at first that managing up was a pretty straightforward concept. So I asked them, what do you mean by managing up? And it was super fascinating. So I got all kinds of answers that didn't really answer my question. It turns out people can have a really hard time articulating exactly what managing up means, but they do a really great job of explaining the effects of not managing up well. So I got a lot of descriptions about situations. I got things that were really frustrating. People talked about how to set expectations well, set expectations to their managers well. So it was a lot of kind of conditional and circumstantial stuff, but people couldn't actually articulate what it means to manage up. So we have to talk about that. And there are so many benefits. Like this is a true skill that needs to be practiced, but once you get practiced at it, the upsides are incredible. So managing up it describes the totality of your communications to superiors that puts your work into the context of their priorities and initiatives. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. This is what managing up is. It is the culmination of your communications that position your work and your team's work relative to what matters to the person you're reporting to. Okay, so there are a couple of things that we should delve into a little bit more deeply. The first is that if you don't know what your boss's priorities are, you can't manage up. You can't manage up. You need to be able to know what matters to them, what are they trying to accomplish, and all the work that I'm doing and my team, how does that fit in to what they're trying to accomplish? And it might be just that next level of leadership. It might be the department. It might be the organization, right? But having visibility to that is so key to managing up well. The second thing that you need to do is you need to report results, not activity, all right? Managing up is fundamentally different than providing a status update, okay? When you manage up, you are communicating the effects of your activities, okay? And so it's not just what you are doing day to day, what your team is doing day to day. That might still be in play here, but that's not managing up. That's something different. And you and your boss may have that need and that requirement, and that's fine. But if you want to manage up, you have to talk about results. So I'm going to give an example to kind of make this a little bit more tangible. So I ran call centers for many, many years. Some of you already know this. I came up the ranks on call centers. So I started on the front lines, picking up the phone and not knowing what was going to be on the other end, right? And then moved into managing the call centers and then eventually designing them. And then I had to sell them. I had to land new call center business. Now, when I was trying to sell call centers, I had a set of just brilliant, smart, capable line managers, okay? And their job, not my job, their job was to walk that fine line between throughput, right? Because it's always incoming on a call center. So you have to get through the volume. But they had to balance that with, quality and a beautiful customer experience, right? So there was always this push-pull. That was their priority, to find that balance. Now, in their job description, they had line items for all the things that they had to do daily to do that. So they, refined SOPs, and they, moved people around on the schedule, or they created tiers of expertise. That's all fine. That was their job. But their priority was to increase efficiency and increase the quality of the customer experience and find that balance. My priority was to figure out how to sell better with better margins, right? So I was always curious, how much value could we provide? How do we increase value and still improve our margins? Like, what is that sweet spot of how much to budget and how much to propose for a given business objective? So again, I had wonderfully brilliant line managers, and they all executed on their day-to-day jobs wonderfully well. But there were some line managers who would report activities, right? So here was the customer experience this week. These are the volume numbers that we had this week, and that's all fine. That was interesting information. But there were some line managers who really knew how to manage up. These line managers knew what I was trying to do, and they had all the same data. They were working on the same data. They were all doing the same work. But those line managers who were good at managing up, those guys gave me trends. Those guys said, well, compared to last month, we are actually improving our efficiency. And when we look at, customer feedback, we're improving our efficiency and our throughput and maintaining the customer experience. Oh, that was good stuff. That was stuff that I could totally use for what mattered to me and what I was trying to accomplish, right? So just to be clear, I absolutely could have made it a requirement that people report to me in a particular way. And that's fine. Some managers do that, right? I was more interested in people focusing on their jobs and executing beautifully according to their job descriptions, right? This is how managing up is more of it's a soft skill. It really is a soft skill. So it's not hard-coded into job descriptions. It's just something that you can take upon yourself to be better at, okay? So it does require, number one, again, that you know what the priorities are for the people that you're reporting into. And number two, that you're reporting results. You're making some conclusions. You have something, you're analyzing the information and giving them something of incredible value that has a lot of utility for what they're trying to accomplish. It's not a flat status update, okay? Have you guys ever had a manager where you send them updates and you don't hear back from them? Like maybe I don't even know if they open the email sometimes, right? If you manage up in this way, they start to realize that the information that they're getting from you is incredibly valuable. Okay, if you start tailoring your communications with this approach, watch. They're going to be opening those emails because they're like, I'm going to get some good information from Sally. I need to read that email. If Sally calls me, I got to get back to her. If Sally wants to meet with me, that's going to be a really good, useful conversation versus just a flat communication of here's what it is. Now, you may take the approach of this is not my job, right? Again, you can execute beautifully on the explicit duties and responsibilities in your job description, and it may not be your job to do this extra work to provide this information to your boss. It's true. You could say, I execute beautifully on this, and it's my boss's job to like figure it out. That's fine. That's fine. But again, if you want to learn this skill, it has so much upside. Here's some of the upside. Number one, you become so relevant. So relevant. The boss opening up your email and wanting to talk to you because you provide that value is so incredible. You are establishing your value, your utility for that department, that organization, whatever it is. But secondly, have you guys ever had a micromanager? Now, micromanagers, they may be malicious. Maybe. They may have no idea what they're doing. That could be the case too. Or they might be control freaks. True. Or they might feel like they're not getting the information from the line that they need to fulfill their job duties and report to their boss. And because they're not getting that, because there's no transparency there, maybe they feel they need to get into the weeds themselves to get it somehow. So really interesting experiment. If you feel like you have a micromanager, right, try this approach to managing up. And I'm really curious to see if that helps alleviate some of the micro part of that managing. If you, and again, this is the same work. You're not doing more, you're just doing different, right? So your day-to-day job stays the same. It's just in how you couch your communications. And, you know, can you take the work that you and your team are doing and put it in a different context? That this is where it makes all the difference in the world. The other side benefit is if you want to stay in your current role forever and ever, amen, more power to you. I actually think that's fantastic. It's great to have consistent, reliable people who deliver on their job day in and day out. So that's fantastic. If you want to be promoted into higher levels, if you want those salary adjustments and you want to move up the ladder and all of this kind of stuff, this approach to managing up gives you that edge, right? Because think about it. If you are practiced at putting all your work within the context of leadership's priorities, wow, you are better positioned to think about higher level priorities all the time, right? And then when you get promoted, there's probably less of this scramble to get up to speed and master something on a completely different level because you are used to putting your work within the context of larger initiatives. So good. So those are my tips around how to think of managing up. Now, if you're part of Skill Masters, you know that every Friday we get, you'll get an email around this stuff. And so what the tool is this week is it takes you through the steps of how to communicate differently so that the next time you are going to be communicating with, whether it might be a typical status update, but you want to flip it a little bit and try this, that tool will walk you through it so that you can couch it in a more valuable way. So you can go to aureliancoaching.com and sign up for Skill Masters there. It's free. Okay, so next week we are going to be talking about the growth mindset in business. So the reason I want to talk about it is because that term is tossed around a lot, and its meaning has become diluted. And I want to re-anchor all of us in what a growth mindset really means and the impact that it can have for you in your career, in your interactions day to day with your colleagues. This is really good stuff. So this is based on the work of Carol Dweck. If I have it correctly, I think she was based out of Stanford, but I could be wrong. And the book is called Mindset. So it was written a long time ago, although I think there was a new edition published in more recent years. But what I want to correct for, where I want to re-anchor us, is that a lot of people think that having a growth mindset is about being flexible or about being open-minded and things like that. And it's not. It's not. And especially in the workplace, the growth mindset is so important. The growth mindset is all about learning. And sometimes in the workplace, it can be really hard to take on a mindset of learning when you may feel like you're just supposed to know this stuff, right? So we're going to talk about that next week. So tune in. Once again, aureliancoaching.com if you want to sign up for Skill Masters. It's free. But besides that, I will talk to you guys same time, same place next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.